Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And I've got another combination out here that when I was flipping through the booklet I've got, that I was rather surprised we haven't tested yet. So I already knew I had to bring it out here and try it, and it should be a pretty decent looking one. So for the round we're going to be running today, it's a classic, the Winchester Longbeard XR loads. These are the 12 gauge, 3 inch, 1050 feet per second, 1 7/8 ounce of 6s. And as for the setup, I've got a combination that should produce a pretty decent looking pattern with those 6s. That being the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag here with an Indian Creek 675 constriction choke. So I have some decently high hopes for that combination. I know that especially my 1187 loves those Longbeard 6s, but I don't think we've done quite as many tests with the 6s through the 835 yet. But as for the test today, I have the usual, which is the turkey target down there at 40 yards. I also do have the chronograph today, so we'll see how close we're actually getting to that 1050 feet per second box claim from this 835. So let's get you guys set up with a good view of the target. I'll head up to 40 yards, I'll take our shot, we'll glance at our chrono number real quick, and then we'll go see how they did. So let's head over here and shoot them and see what kind of results we can get from this combination today. Alright, so that round gave us 1,321 feet per second through the chronograph. The box only called for 1050, so we're a good chunk above that. It's not really unusual for us to see a little bit higher than box velocity with the Longbeard loads, but that one seemed to be moving out pretty quick. But I still think we had some decent results downrange on our target, so let's go check those out and see how we did down there. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and these are the results we got. We did hit a touch left, but I think that probably has to do with us having a little bit of a crosswind blowing from the right to the left out here today. So it is really just kind of what it is for this one. But either way, we absolutely have a dead bird here. There's a good 6 or 7 of them in the brain right there, and probably another 5 or 6 or 7 all down the spine right there. So he is still absolutely a dead bird, and we would have had even more pellets hit him if that pattern was just a couple inches over to the right there. But either way, the core of that pattern looks pretty good to me. There's not really a ton of voids or anything like that I'd be concerned about in there, but it's not too overly tight either. It still gives you some leeway. But as we back up and look at the whole thing here, you start to notice where the 675 constriction might not be quite as good as it could be for these 6s. As you can see, we do have not necessarily what I would call flyers per se, but just the edges of the pattern feather open just a little bit here. And it's not unusual to see a few flyers out of these 6s from what I've tested, but I think these 6s definitely like a little bit more constriction. But at the end of the day, can you really argue too much with that pattern? I mean, there's not a turkey out there that's going to make it through that at 40 yards for sure, one way or the other. As long as you put that pattern on them, they're not making it past there. So I really can't knock that pattern for too much. The core area of it looks really good, but it just needs a little bit more constriction from what I'm seeing here, just where the edges of that pattern feather open just a little bit. But definitely not a bad performer at all here for this combination. That'll absolutely take a bird out to 40 yards, no question about it on that one. Okay, and this is the wad we got out of that shell, and it really looks pretty typical from what I've seen. If you shoot a Longbeard wad through one of those Indian Creek chokes, this is pretty typical of what happens, how you have a couple of the edges ripped off of them like that. So pretty usual stuff here. However, what is not usual and what I've never seen before is, I don't know, maybe you can see it, but we have 4 or 5 pellets still in the bottom of that wad there. That is something I have never seen out of a Longbeard wad. So let's dump it out and see if there's anything to note down in there that might tell us something about it. Alright, so as you can see here, we have 7 pellets that were still down in the bottom of that wad. They're still nice and perfectly round, and there's really no indentations or anything like that down in the bottom of there. So that's just really kind of interesting. I have never seen that out of one of these Longbeard loads before, but that's the kind of powdery, almost wax clump type stuff they use for buffer material that helps to keep the shot column together as it's flying down range for better patterns. If you've never seen any of that stuff before, that's kind of what it looks like. But either way, that's definitely pretty surprising. For a longbeard load, I wouldn't expect to see that, but it is what we got for this test. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about how that combination did? I had some pretty decent expectations for it going in, so I figured it was going to do pretty good, and it did about what I expected to see, really. From my experience and my testing, those 6s, whether they're longbeards or not, just like a little bit more constriction since they are that smaller shot size. But at the end of the day, you can't really argue too much with that pattern. Like I said, the only thing about it is that little bit feathering, more openness on the outside, which just comes from it being a 675 and having a little bit less overall constriction. But what I was definitely not expecting to see was those pellets still sitting down in the bottom of that wad. We've seen it out of some big box store off the shelf TSS loads in like 410, but I wouldn't have expected to see it in a longbeard load. But either way, what do you guys think about it? And have you seen some pellets still stuck in the bottom of those longbeard wads? Leave a comment and let me know your thoughts and experience with them. And I've got another test to run out here today, so stick around because we've got plenty more stuff coming, especially now that we're getting close to deer season. So with that being said, I'll see y'all in the next one.